Just this week that I am filming this 2024 Kia EV9, it not only won World EV of the Year, but also World Car of the Year award. So what makes this EV9 such a great vehicle? Let's go for a drive and find out. To start with, this Kia EV9 drives pretty much the same as every other electric vehicle that's on sale right now. It has snappy acceleration every time that you put your foot down, but you do want to take it a little bit more slowly around corners because it has a lot of weight to contend with, 2.6 tons to be exact. Through corners, you can really feel this weight, and the body does lean a little bit through them. Just hope that you don't hit a really big bump midway through a corner because that kind of unsettles the body. It almost feels flobbery, if that's even a correct term. The car just doesn't have that same planted feeling when you're hitting a big bump as you're going with a little bit more speed through corners. So again, just take those corners at a little bit of a slower speed. Either way, this is not meant to be some sort of sporty three-row electric SUV, but apparently one is coming. There have been spy photos of a Kia EV9 GT, so maybe in the future that one will handle better. I don't know. It'll definitely have more power. Speaking of which, you can get the Kia EV9 with 201 horsepower, 215 horsepower, or what this one has, 379 horsepower and 516 pound-feet of torque. That's from a dual motor setup. The less powerful ones have a single motor which is mounted in the back for rear-wheel drive. With this dual motor version, Kia claims a 0 to 100 km/h sprint in around 5 seconds. Pretty brisk for something that again weighs 2.6 tons. From a dead stop, this car does give you that pin to the back of the seat feeling, and it is very strong. But once you're going at higher speeds, say around 100 km/h or so, when you put your foot down, you don't get that same sensation of getting pushed into the back of the seat, which is totally normal. I've noticed this in pretty much all other electric vehicles and even gasoline-powered vehicles. As for the driving range of this Kia EV9, it all depends on how many motors it has and what size battery. There's a smaller battery and a bigger battery. The bigger one is almost 100 kilowatt hours. So the range is from as little as 370 kilometers with the smaller battery and the single motor, all the way up to almost 500 kilometers with the bigger battery and again single motor. This dual motor GT line is rated for 435 kilometers. Of course, that range will vary based on a number of different factors such as climate control use, ambient exterior temperatures, your driving style, and so on. But it is possible to get more range than it is rated for. As an example, whenever the car was 100% charged, it showed me that it had an estimated range of around 480 kilometers. Also, during my week with the car and almost 500 kilometers of driving it, I averaged 21.1 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. With some quick calculations, it means that I could have driven it for a theoretical distance of 473 kilometers. And I have been driving it with climate control running at all times. Once you arrive at your destination, the Kia EV9 can be recharged at a speed of up to 350 kilowatts, that is, if you can find that kind of charger. At that speed, the charge time will take between 20 minutes to 24 minutes from 10% to 80%. From a more common 50 kilowatt charger, the smaller battery can be recharged from 10% to 80% in about 63 minutes, while the bigger battery will take an hour and 23 minutes. And finally, from an 11 kilowatt AC charger, The small one will take almost 7 hours from 10% to 100% and almost 9 hours for the bigger battery. These are the estimated charge times from Kia. Of course, like many other electric vehicles, some energy can be recuperated through regenerative braking. The EV9 has 4 different levels to choose from, with level 0 providing no regen braking, while level 4 or max is a 1-pedal drive mode. There's also an auto regen braking mode which will automatically adjust the amount based on what the vehicle ahead is doing. If it slows down, more regen braking is applied. If it remains at a constant speed or if there isn't a car ahead, very little or no regen braking is applied. Personally, I don't like using this mode because it always changes and it's never consistent as to what I like it to be. As for the brakes themselves, they feel strong enough and the car stops without much fuss in emergency situations. Furthermore, the brake pedal doesn't move on its own like the one in the Nissan Ariya, and the transition from regen braking to the physical brakes is seamless. I could not feel it. The ride quality of the 2024 Kia EV9 is very good considering it does not have air suspension or adaptive dampers. Bumps from potholes, manhole covers, or just speed bumps in general, they are all absorbed well by the shocks. Additionally, it does not feel floaty on highways and road undulations. Because this is an EV, it is smooth and quiet as well. The electric motors make no noise unless you want to add in synthetic noises through the stereo system. Tire noise is well subdued and wind noise is negligible. The interior of the Kia EV9 is roughly the same size as the Kia Telluride, but because this is an electric vehicle, that means that there is a little bit more space for passengers and more space for smaller items. So for example, there's a big bin underneath the center console for your GoPro camera or a small purse. There's a couple of cup holders which trade for more space, and I love these rotating cup holders because you just push a button and they appear almost like magic. Unfortunately, there isn't a whole lot of space in the center console, but you do trade this for a storage bin in the back. And that storage bin in the back there is really, really big. Plus, there's just tons and tons of space for individuals as tall as me at 6'4" up here in these front seats. I have plenty of leg space, plenty of headroom, and I can easily see out the front, out the side, and even out the back. Even with passengers in the very far third row, it's not a problem because this car is equipped with a rear camera mirror. Now, unfortunately, the rear camera mirror is mounted on the outside of the car, not inside of the car. So on rainy days, that lens does get wet and it does get obstructed a little bit by the water and dirt. So you are going to have to go around back and wipe it down. The design of the cabin is really straightforward. It has the very minimalist design language that is very popular at the moment among all vehicles. So it has a dual screen layout, one for the driver instrumentation and one for the touchscreen. There are some quick access buttons that are etched into this piece of trim right underneath the screen, and it does have some haptic feedback whenever you touch one of these buttons. But thankfully, just underneath that, Kia has kept toggle switches for the climate temperature, both for the driver and the passenger, as well as fan speed and the direction of the air. Plus, there's a little roller for the radio volume. There are just two things that annoy me a little bit about this interior. Firstly is the placement of the vehicle start button. It's right here on this gear selector that protrudes from the steering column. I don't know if you're supposed to push it through the steering wheel or with your thumb or your index finger through the side, but it just feels awkward. It would have been better if it was somewhere here on the center console, or the center dashboard, I should say. The other minor inconvenience that I have about this interior is the placement of the climate control panel. It's in between the driver display and the main touchscreen. But unfortunately, this part of the steering wheel is blocking my view of it. So if I want to change, for example, having the air only blown on the driver instead of everyone else, or if I want to have the climate control synced, I have to move my head like this in order to actually touch those controls. There is a plus sign on the top right corner which does display the entire climate control menu on the main infotainment screen, but for quick access, I do have to move my head. Thankfully, as I said earlier, Kia has kept temperature controls and fan speed and air direction toggle switches on the dashboard, so you just set it to auto and then use the toggle switches. So it's not really that big of an inconvenience. But overall, this interior is pretty nice, very spacious, and let's go check out the back seats now. Sitting in the back behind my taller than average driving position, I have plenty of space in this Kia EV9. Plenty of legroom and plenty of headroom. Now this particular demo car is the GT line, so that means it has every single gadget fitted to it, which means these second row seats are power operated and they're heated and ventilated. You have a big pass-through in the middle. As I said earlier, there's a big storage bin right underneath for the rear passengers. You have your own climate control back here, sunshades. What more could you want? It is very, very spacious in these second row seats. So now let's go check out the third row seats. As I said earlier, this particular car does have power second row seats, which means you gotta wait for them to move forward before you can get into the back. But if you go for one of the lower end trims, then the second row seats are not powered, so it makes it much faster to slide them forward or to fold them down. Also, you can get the Kia EV9 with bench seats in the third or second row, I should say. But once the seat finally moves forward, which by the way is a little bit faster than the power second row seats in the Mercedes GLS. Check out that video up there if you're interested. Once you're back here, it is pretty much the same amount of space as the Kia Telluride. So for somebody as tall as me, that means very little legroom in this third row. Now, once this seat moves back, it doesn't go all the way to the farthest back point. It goes somewhere in the middle. So if the person sitting in the second row decides to move the seat all the way back, I really have no leg space back here. But again, these seats were not designed for somebody as tall as me in mind. They were designed for somebody shorter or little kids, and I think they should have just the right amount of leg space in this third row. Headroom though is more than plentiful. My hair isn't brushing up against the headliner, and the third row does have their own vents, but it's not a separate fourth climate zone. These third row seats are power operated for reclining. There's a USB port on either side as well as cup holders back here. And that's about it for the third row in the Kia EV9. Behind the third row, the EV9 has 573 liters of space. With the optional power third row seats folded, cargo capacity increases to 1,233 liters. And finally, with all rows of seats folded, the Kia EV9 has a maximum cargo capacity of 2,314 liters. To put that into perspective, the Kia Telluride has a little bit more cargo capacity across all three rows, but the difference is very small. There is a little bit of space under the trunk floor, and there's also a small cargo area underneath the hood. This being a Kia, it comes well equipped with a lot of convenience features. This top-spec GT line trim is brimmed with gadgets such as the Ergo Motion driver seat with a massage function. Both front seats and the second row captain's chairs are also heated and ventilated. There's the dual-pane sunroof, but only the front portion opens. There's a wireless phone charging pad, the rear camera mirror that I mentioned earlier, a head-up display, ambient lighting system, a 14-speaker Meridian sound system, and surround view cameras among many other things. The infotainment system is displayed on a 12.3-inch touchscreen, and the driver also has the same size screen for the instrumentation. This is the same infotainment system that is found in newer Hyundai vehicles, such as the Kona, but with slightly different graphics between the two brands. It's simple and fairly straightforward to use, with the biggest change being the introduction of wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto connectivity. The exterior of the 2024 Kia EV9 looks almost identical to the concept car from 2021. Driving this car down busy city streets will have a lot of people turning their heads. It is a very unique design language. This top-spec GT line trim has individual LED lights to make up the high and low beam headlights, along with marker lights that illuminate from behind the faux grille. Those small lights, along with the LED headlights, turn on in a unique pattern that can be chosen on the infotainment screen. It is a gimmick, but it's a fun gimmick. Along the side, it has pop-out door handles, which will presumably freeze in sub-zero temperatures, and a power-operated charge flap. Around back, the taillights are arranged in an almost boomerang configuration. I also like the 4-spoke wheel design on this GT line trim. You don't see 4-spoke wheels all that often. So how much are you going to be paying for the 2024 Kia EV9? Well, it's not cheap. It starts at $60,000 Canadian, and this top spec GT line will set you back $79,000 Canadian. By now, you're probably thinking, are you crazy? I'm not spending $80,000 Canadian for a Kia. But if this had a BMW or Mercedes-Benz badge, you'd be paying well over $100,000 Canadian for a car like this. Or if it had a Honda, Toyota, or even a Ford badge, you'd probably be paying pretty much the same price as this car. Now, the base version of the Kia EV9 is a bit of an easier pill to swallow at around $60,000 Canadian. But the point that I'm trying to get at is electric vehicles are still very, very expensive, especially ones that are this big and have such big batteries. Overall though, the Kia EV9 is a great car, and I can understand why it won 2 very important awards this week. It's comfortable, spacious, lots of range, easy to drive, and it pretty much has a market all to its own. It's the only proper 3-row electric vehicle that's on sale right now. In the meantime, if you would like to know more about this 2024 Kia EV9, I have a written review with a few more details about it over on my website. You can find that link in the video description or click on the pop-up banner right up there. And as always, I will see you in the next car or truck or most likely another SUV like this one. Anyway, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video and see you in the next one.